In this session, we start a new chapter. We start in Genesis chapter 23, and we'll read from verses 1 to 6, and then we'll unpack it. It's a new chapter in Abraham's life. And Sarah was 170 and 20. That means 127 years old. Those were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Jatharba, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. Why didn't they say that to begin with? It's Hebron. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burial place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. Now he had Sarah, who had passed away, and he wanted to bury her. So I guess he was desperate. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord. Thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury your dead. None of us will withhold from you his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. That's the first 6 verses of Genesis chapter 23. Do you realize that Sarah is the only woman considered important enough in the Bible whose age at death is given? Approximately 20 years passed between chapters 22 and 23, as Isaiah would now have been 37 years old. Sarah's importance cannot be overstated. You see, as Abraham is considered the father of all believers, so Sarah can be considered mother of all devout, believing women. We find that in 1 Peter 3, 1 to 6. Wow, it's so eloquently put. And here goes. 1 Peter 3, 1 to 6 talks about Sarah. Ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that, if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, by the wives' behavior, right? That's what the conversation is here. Whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of the plaiting of the hair, the latest hairstyle, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel. But let that adorning be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God a great price. For after the manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are. You see, Peter was addressing wives. He was addressing wives. And he didn't tell the wives not to ever wear jewelry, like many Christians interpret this as. No. What Peter was saying was, don't let that be your sign of beauty. Don't let that. Let your adorning not be that outward adorning. People need to see your personality shine through. And not only did he say that to women, but I say it of every believer. But now we're dealing with Sarah, aren't we? She just passed away. Abraham lost his soulmate as he came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. After he was done, Abraham approached the sons of Heth, as we just read, about acquiring a burial place for his dead. The sons of Heth appear to welcome him with open arms. As it says in verse 8, verse 6, which we just read, "Hear us, my Lord. Thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury your dead. None of us are going to withhold his sepulcher from you." I know why they said that. On the surface, this sounded like a generous offer, didn't it? But the sons of Heth now occupied the same area as formerly the Amorites held. The Amorites. Abraham had not moved from the plain of Mamre near Hebron, as we saw in Genesis 14. He was in that same plain when the Amorites were there. The Amorites were defeated by the Hittites, and Abraham stayed right there. Nobody dared move him. These sons of Heth, also known as the Hittites, had displaced the other Canaanite tribes, but Abraham remained. Isn't that what I just said? Obviously, Abraham had the great God Jehovah on his side. And folks, that's a lot. I have a favorite saying. It says, me plus God is a majority. And so it was with Abraham. They must have heard how he defeated great kings, and how he rescued Lot, the great exploits. You don't want to mess with Abraham because he's on God's side. Well, you know what? So far, from what they said, it sounds to me like they were making a free offer to barter with him, so that Abraham, that mighty prince, would owe them a favor. And I think I'm right. Later in this chapter, chapter 23, later in this chapter, we will see if this is so. It's obvious Abraham had God-given discernment in dealing with the Hittites. He would prove to be friendly, but never their brother or buddy. Isn't that the mistake Lot made in Sodom? Hey, brothers. They didn't end up being his brother at all. We have the advantage of the Holy Spirit to help us be wise and discerning. But how often is he being utilized to help us make important decisions? You realize that being a prophet, Abraham also had the Holy Spirit on his side.